Welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. My name is Lincoln Strike and joined today by a special guest. It's world silver medalist in the 800 meters, Raevyn Rogers. Raevyn, how are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing good. Thanks for taking the time to join us. Now, news has recently been circulating about you. You switched training groups to join an accomplished group with Pete Julian. What's it been like this first month or so that you've been back in Oregon, but in Portland with Pete Julian and a new group?
It's been really great. I mean, the group has been very supportive through the whole move, and so it made things just that much easier. Um, so I've been doing more one-on-ones with Pete, and it's been helping build our relationship even quicker. And that way he could learn a little bit more about me and my style of running, and then, to match as far as how to go about the rest of, you know, our time together.
Yeah. And most people, you would think during a pandemic, it's extra challenging to move. Was that stressful? Was that hard on you to switch training groups in the middle of what's going on health wise in the world?
I definitely was stressful, especially just moving by myself. My first move to Philadelphia, I actually had about like maybe a week to get everything together, and then I had to go to Europe to run for like a whole month in Europe. So I had packed up everything, and my friend stayed and made sure that everything was sent off. But this time around, I was doing everything by myself. So literally, like packing everything, and then organizing everything, and then having to, just make sure everything was sent off. And then so it was a little bit, I would say, three times more stressful during a global pandemic. Just trying to get everything out there.
hmm Uh,
Yeah.
there's the old phrase, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And it feels like something that could be applied to your situation where you come off a year where you get a medal, your first medal,
Mhm.
and you finish the top American at Worlds. And from the outside looking in, it's kind of like, why is Raevyn leaving this trading group when she had so much success? So what went into the decision to leave a group you've had success in after your biggest breakthrough on the world stage last year?
What mainly went into my decision to switch groups was the constant urge and constant yearn for me wanting like to be a better athlete. And there's just little things that I felt that just like resources and just being back home, I've done the long distance thing, as far as with my family and everything. But I guess, it's just a little homesick, and being back, I have my mentor here, which helps a lot, make things easier in my relationship, with P has gotten better just by advice from my mentor. So I would definitely say just a little bit more of a support system, family wise, went into the decision a little bit.
Mhm. You mentioned your mentor. Who's that?
So her name is Ellen Schmidt Devlin, and she actually was a part of the first 800 team that the women's team that Oregon had. And so she just played a big part in my career at University of Oregon. Um, Bill Bowerman was her mentor, and so she makes sure that I have a lot of wisdom and insight that's instilled in me. While she has this whole plan for my career and everything. So it's really good to be back with her in Portland.
And you mentioned family. You're from Texas, so did you have family in Oregon? Did they move with you when you went to Oregon? How did that all work?
No, so my family's in Houston, and
Oh,
they weren't with me when I was in Oregon. So she was that family away from home, which kind of made Portland, Oregon, my second home. Just because I would come and spend Thanksgiving with her when I couldn't go back home. Uh, because Oregon to Texas isn't just a turnaround type of
mhm,
situation. And so she really just made my transition, with college and just being away from my family that much easier.
mhm. And you mentioned all those reasons for wanting to come home, as you said. But I'm wondering, on the men's side, Donovan had so much success, obviously, under Pete last year. Did that have any role, knowing he's in your event? It's clear Pete Julian, a very good 800-meter coach. Did that did Donovan's success have any role in you coming to Portland?
I think it wasn't more so about seeing how successful Donovan was. It was more so kind of aligning what I felt that I needed. And then because going from Derek to Pete isn't a, it's not a loss. And both coaches are very talented, and both have proven themselves well worthy of the respect they deserve. And so I feel like, it's a win-win with both situations. It's just that there's some things that personally I feel like I want to more so search for, and I'm just taking that risk. And then it does help, like, to answer your question, it does help that Donovan is also a 4'8", and he's also improved as far as growing as athlete that he is today. So I really did. Of course, I feel like the world kind of noticed how Donovan grew into the athlete and the confident athlete that he is today. And I would definitely say that's part of the reason why I think I did go with Pete.
Is it tough to make life decisions when on the outside everyone's looking at it only from a track perspective? So when you look at yourself leaving a training group that included Ajay, we're like, well, everything was working, everything's fine, and then people don't understand and remember that, of course, you're a person and you have other concerns other than just what you do for over 2 laps. Is it tough to, I don't know, separate those two areas of your life and try to make decisions for your well-being, not just on the track?
I think that it's hard because it's not it's tough in some ways. I mean, it's easy, as far as me being able to separate myself from just being an athlete, just because, I take pride in me doing art. I take pride in, my life outside of track. But when it comes to making decisions where you have to not only, like, I moved from Eugene to Philadelphia and then moved back to Oregon, that's something that takes a lot of consideration. But I just decided that, it's a reason why I feel the way I feel. I wanting to be back closer to home, back having a strong support system. And that's part of the reason that went into the move. I feel that only track people would probably be able to see the outside, like you said. And there's my group back in Philly. I mean, those are like my sisters. And so just to go away from that, of course I miss that, but like I said, it's a win-win. So I'm gaining great training partners as well with Pete.
And what has it been like in these last few weeks where you've been in part of Pete's group? You go from in Philadelphia having someone alongside you as Ajay. Obviously, she's running the same event, probably doing similar workouts, if not the exact same. To now, you have a team that doesn't have another obvious female 800-meter runner. Are there changes about who you run your reps with? Like what goes into that?
Well, the thing is that I feel like I've kind of had to it's this moving to Portland has just helped with me growing as an athlete. I mean, my first year of being professional, I was still trying to graduate, and Derek was sending me workouts when I was in Oregon. So I didn't even have training partners that first year. And then, just a lot of course, discipline, and of course with Derek's talent, Derek's workouts, that's when, I finished fifth in Diamond League final. And so it's not like I haven't had it's not like I've had, training partners this whole time. But going to Philadelphia, it helped a lot just because, you're around. It's kind of like, practice is intense, but it's not really intense because we all had a great relationship. So I think what I missed the most is the relationship that I had, with my sisters, because they helped me grow and they gave me a lot of insight based off of their experience. And kind of going to Pete, I feel like we're all kind of in this emerging type of phase of our life. We're kind of similar, me, Craig, and Coco and Donovan. We're kind of similar on the as far as years wise. Is with our experience with being professional. So it's a little bit different than having, a range of Charlene and, Kendra and Ajay and Angel Picarillo. That's the part that I miss the most.
We spoke with Donovan last week, and it was announced yesterday he's going to Monaco. Are you planning on running any races in Europe this year?
We're supposed to be running races. I'm not really sure. I've been dealing with some little minor setbacks. And so we're just wanting to really use this year to the best of getting adjusted to everything and not really force it, but just kind of get the races out the way.
Mm-hmm. And would you feel comfortable? I mean, you mentioned maybe you're dealing with something right now that you're trying to fix before you would race, but would you feel comfortable, going overseas given the pandemic and everything going on?
I think I would feel comfortable about it. I mean, I definitely don't feel. Of course, I'm not a fear-led type of person, and so if it happens, it's definitely for a reason. And all I can do is just trust Pete's coaching. That's the best thing that I could do going into this whole thing, this relationship that we're trying to build. So I think that I would be a little bit more open to it, just to because I know that Pete has a bigger plan.
One good thing about you moving back to Portland, and I guess being close to Eugene, is you're close to where you went to college, and of course they just constructed the new stadium, and you are there on the tower. I've seen your social media posts and the video Oregon put out, but just put into words what it was like to see that in person for the first time, to see your face up there on that tower.
I mean, to see the tower and being there with my family and walking down Agate, I just remember just seeing it through the trees, and it was just so exciting just because that just proved how big it was. I was more so really shocked at how much in center it kind of was of the tower, which means so much because I mean, to be the only woman on the tower, like I said, I have a great relationship with my mentor to where she's introduced me and made me aware of many of the women that came before me. She introduced me to Madeline Manning Mims and Claudette Gronendahl, who is she has the school record in the 800 at Oregon. So it's definitely bigger than me, and to have me representing many of the women that came before me in the future, women that will be successful at Oregon, as the center, that meant a lot because it wasn't something that was just kind of, not to say, I mean, there is 5 people, but it's not like I was kind of lost on the tower.
Hmm. Yeah. When did you find out that you were going to be featured on there?
I found out maybe last year, like way before, kind of at the beginning of construction. Not so much after, so maybe a year and a half ago. I mean, not so much after they started because they started building, Hayward, after Triple Crown year. And so it was more so towards the end of that year, kind of going into 2018 maybe. And I didn't know that I was going to be I didn't know there were going to be 5 of us. They just told me that I was going to be on the tower. And so once I found out, which was pretty recent, that I was the only woman on the tower and there was only 5 of us, that just hit home even more.
Hmm. And then just having your family around. I mean, it looked like a really, really exciting, special moment for you. What was it like?
I mean, my mom started crying, of course, because, like I said, I spent 4 years at Oregon, and my family only came up maybe once a year for NCAA's. So most of my career they watched on TV, and they would come up during nationals and indoors and stuff. But for her to kind of see, the last time she came to Hayward was for the Triple Crown. She was there for that moment, and so to see 3 years later me on the tour and just her being able, I can only imagine how she felt being proud because I've been running summer track. I ran summer track when I was 5, and I did it all the way until like high school, until as much as I could in high school to prepare for college. So all of those years, she's able to relate to the most in my family, just being in a Texas sun, and just seeing how it's paid off and the trust that she had with Oregon, with me being so far away. It definitely it was a moment for her to really grasp.
And you mentioned the Triple Crown. I'm wondering what the proudest accomplishment you had at Oregon, or maybe just the best memory you had as an Oregon Duck.
I definitely would say the Triple Crown. Even just watching, I feel like I'm able to, when I think about my freshman year race, I'm able to really take that to the heart more because, that was freshman year. So the Triple Crown year is a little bit more recent, but just seeing how like other people reacted and then the videos and realizing, how loud it was, I'm able to really grasp a little better how truly special that moment was because I mean you go through it and then you don't really realize and take into every little detail into consideration until 3 years later.
Mhm.
And so I would definitely say just sharing that moment with, the community in Eugene, the same people that watched me grow from freshman year to my senior year, that meant a lot to have that, at Oregon.
My coworker Kevin went to Oregon. He didn't run on the team, but he was his parents live in Eugene. He's been around the city and the university for a long time. He not initially a fan of the new Hayward Field, or at least nothing against the stadium, just the fact that old Hayward is no longer there. I'm wondering if it was
Right.
a bittersweet type of a thing for you in the same sense, being that yes, it's this brand new spectacular stadium, but also all this place that had so many memories and so much history to it is no longer there. How do you balance that outlook?
Well, the thing I would say is that I so I saw the stadium. I went in the stadium. And the track is exactly the same. The track, I looked at it just looking on that curve where the dorms are. The whole track is exactly the same. The placement hasn't changed one bit. It's just everything around the track has changed.
Yeah.
And so, once you're sitting there being able to watch it, you'll definitely be able to understand what I'm talking about. But when the first thing that I kind of realized the most is that when walking through the stadium, I was happy for the team because we deserve that. Oregon Track and Field deserves the stadium because, I mean, just the convenience of everything being there and being able to have the necessary resources available at the stadium just goes more, it just works better for what Oregon is trying to do as far as development. And so, just the vibes of the stadium and the seats, it turns the stadium into more like a European type of meet. If you had a meet on a Sunday, this is more than a great experience. I mean, even the seats, they're cushioned, they have cup holders, so they're
Yeah.
definitely showing respect to the fact of, you know, we know that this is just not your average meet. Granted, I feel like the old Hayward was great because it was that you can think about the dirt track that they had even when they had football games there. Some people can remember those times. So there's more association with the beginning of sports for Oregon at Hayward Field. That's not just track because it was football there as well. But now with this new stadium, it is specifically for track. And then the
Mhm.
best part is that on that first row of seats, there's only a rail that's separating you from the track.
Oh,
So
cool.
they're definitely making it an engaging type of experience, not just your average, just kind of show up and there's a fencing away type of track meet. They're making it on a whole different level. They're dedicating to the experience there.
hmm Well, you definitely sold me, and I think the cushion seats, although I'll miss the bleachers, like the cushion seats will definitely help there. You mentioned you've been running track since you were 5, which
hmm
it's hit and miss in track. Other sports, basketball per se, NBA players, of course, they've been playing since they were 5, 6, 7. But track, not everybody came to the sport the same way. How do you avoid burnout in the sport that you've been doing for so long, running so many repeats, so many miles?
Well, I mean, I did so in I in my sorry, in middle school and high school I did volleyball, basketball, and track. So that's one thing. I didn't just dedicate myself to
Yeah.
just running. Doing basketball and volleyball really helped with other things that have helped in track as well. And kind of balance out not being so mentally exhausted. But I feel like just the people that I've been blessed to be around, from my summer track team to the high school I went to college. I mean, even at Oregon, we didn't run every weekend. There was a plan to how we trained and when we competed, and there was, that fed into the ultimate plan that Johnson had. And so, I mean, I feel like I've been in situations that has allowed for me to grow at a steady pace and not just at one time.
Hmm.
Just going to private school and developing in there and just having all the resources to be able to kind of develop into the athlete that I needed to be academically and athletically going into college, that played a big part with me being able to last this long.
I before this, I rewatched the World Championships 800 final, and it's still. I know you didn't get gold, but it's still unbelievable how well you finished that last 100 meters. What like had you ever finished 100 or an 8 that fast before? It's still really hard to believe.
So the thing about it is that when I was younger, because I've ran so many 800s, like I don't have as much professional experience, but I have a lot of like experience with 800 in general. And so when I was younger, I actually used to like go at the 200. Like my thing was to go at the 200, and because it clicked in my head that this is where I could separate from everyone else. And so I'm a very visual person. I like to know at this point, this is where I want to go. And once I hit it, I do the same thing. I hit the point and I go. But when I was younger, I used to hit the 200 point and I would go, which is kind of exhausting. So it
Yeah.
went from the 200 to like the 150 to like the 120 and whatever. Now it's just whenever I feel the need to make a move. But that talent, or at least that skill or blessing that I've been able to have, it went back all the way to when I was younger. I mean, I've been running that way ever since I was little.
Hmm. The 4x4 in the U.S. is super competitive, as is every relay. I'm wondering if you have thoughts to try to get on the women's 4x4.
I definitely do. I mean, it's something that I would love to be a part of, and just being able to add to that culture. I feel like just seeing, I grew up, I mean, Sonya went to UT, and because she's the closest thing to an 800 runner, other than, I grew up watching Phoebe Wright and Chanel, and Alicia later on, but I really grew up watching Sonya. And so just, she's played a big part in kind of being an image that I would kind of aim for as far as what she did for the sport. Just the hype that she added to pin relays with the 4x4, and then her individual 400, and then adding to the USA relay. So, of course, I would love to be a part of that culture.
Hmm. With mentioning Sonya, I'm obviously a 400-meter runner. When did you figure out for yourself that you were going to be an 800 runner?
Yeah, I actually didn't choose the 800. The 800 chose me. um, and it's part of it because I remember I was younger and my mom tells the story how I started out kind of wanting to do sprints, but there was so many kids in the sprints where she just was like, "Oh, just get in this 800." And I hated it. I hated it. I ran both laps crying. I, hated to lose. So it was very personal. It was a very personal event for me. But as I began to grow and with time develop, and eventually taking on the 400 as well at one point, that's when I kind of realized that the 8 was my thing, and then also kind of dabbling into the 4 played hand in hand for me.
What are you hoping to improve most going forward into what we hope is next year an Olympic year? Is it just you want to cut your PR down, getting better through rounds, or what is it technical wise in your craft that you're hoping gets better in the next year?
I hope to get better in, let's see, I mean, confidence. That's always something that could take you out, and that's definitely something that I've realized in the past has played a big part in not only my career, because I feel like in college it's different. You're around other people who are great, and then there's different levels to college. And so you develop a confidence over the years. But once you get into professional, it's like a reset button. And it's kind of like no one knows you. Uh, Luckily, I was blessed to have the career I had at Oregon to have some jump start, but it's definitely a reset. And so just trying to get back to building that confidence and getting back into a stable, structured situation to where I can kind of, you know, go the route I need to go and just continue to grow.
A lot of people do talk about when they lose that college team aspect of their training, it's very difficult. How hard I mean, I think you said it there, but how hard has that been, just starting your career knowing, I'm not part of a team, I'm not winning national titles anymore for Oregon, but I still have to run well. Has that been a tough thing to be changed in your running?
It's definitely hard. It's tough because I mean, it's just you out there. Like you said, I mean, you have your team and you can have the hype that's associated with the team. But when it's just you and your contract or your brand or just your path versus everyone else, you kind of have to have a little bit more security in yourself, which security and confidence go hand in hand. And so, if you don't feel as secure with the situation you're in, or if you don't feel as much confidence in how things are paying off, because the thing about professional is that you're not going to win every time. And the thing I've realized is that you can't compare yourself to everyone that you're around, because there's so much that went into that person's time success that you're witnessing at the moment that you weren't there for. And I feel
Mhm.
like a lot of people tend to, I don't know, I don't think it's bad to have expectations, to want to achieve great things, but you have to be a little patient because there's steps that build up to that. And that's what I
Yeah.
realize the most, and that's what confidence plays hand in hand with.
Well, where are you in that path? I guess, do you feel now with a medal and having some professional years under your belt, like, do you feel like I got this, or is it still very much like you're feeling like I'm just a couple years out of college and I'm still learning the ropes?
I'm kind of in the middle. I'm kind of in the middle just because I feel like I'm at the beginning a little bit. I feel like getting a medal was getting the ball rolling. Um, but now of course, I have a lot of expectations for myself. And it's about working with those expectations and those goals, trying to achieve those goals, but also making the necessary steps, doing the extra work that I need to do that can contribute to when time brings it all together, it just goes. Um, and so that's just the hard part. I feel like I've gotten the ball rolling, but now it's a matter of, okay, the ball is rolling, let's keep this going.
Switching gears a little bit, you mentioned a while ago about your art, and I know that's something that's a big passion for you. And I think you major in Oregon in art?
Yep, graduated
Yeah.
from the College of Design.
What are you working on right now, if anything, in that realm?
So currently, I haven't been painting in a while, and I've looked for studios, but studios are really expensive in Portland. Everything is
Yeah.
expensive in Portland. Um, and so I feel like once I get to a place where I have my studio and I have a dedicated space to painting, that's when I want to continue to just keep on going and evolving with my painting. Right now, I'm more so doing little sketches. I have a friend who told me that he wanted a painting, and so just brainstorming and staying creative. Uh, that's kind of where I'm at with my art career.
Mhm. My wife's actually an artist, and so she felt that pain coming out of college, like having this designated studio space on campus, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I only have my apartment. So I definitely understand. I understand that. Um,
Exactly. It's not easy.
yeah. What does art provide for you? Like, as it's just so different, obviously, than running as your career. Like, is it a big stress relief? Like, how do you use art to balance your life out?
I use art as definitely a stress relief, but as a challenge as well. I mean, I feel like over the years it's challenged just my time at Oregon. You know, the art community is like a really hard community to like please, you know, which is why you have paintings of something that is like an apple that is sells for like $1 million, and you're just like, what?
Hmm.
But then you also have people that are like, this is amazing. This
Hmm.
apple is amazing, you know? So there's so many different people that you have to please. And I really learned a lot about myself, and that played into confidence as well, because just having critiques at Oregon, when we would have critiques for the paintings, you get different feedbacks, but you have to kind of stand by what you made. And it's kind of like taking ownership. You know, yeah, I did that. And okay, I hear what you're saying. Or, you know, okay, I hear what you're saying and I don't really agree, but it's okay. Thanks for sharing. That's kind of the attitude that's helped me build a confidence as far as just standing on what I make and being proud of it.
What criticism is harder to take? That after a bad race, or maybe not a bad painting, but maybe somebody has something negative to say about a specific artwork? Which one's tougher for you to swallow?
So you're saying after a bad criticism after a bad race, or criticism after artwork, a bad painting?
Yeah, yeah.
I think criticism after a bad race is a little harder. Um, just because with painting, if I feel like I'm the one that's kind of trying to fight myself. And so if someone tells me that something is, it's never like an on the same page type of thing. You know, I'll get feedback, but if I ultimately feel like this is the most beautiful piece, then that's what it is. With running, like, you have to be open, because there are people that truly can, I guess it lines up. I mean, it's a little different because you have to be open, because you're going along the, you know, you have to trust your coach, and your coach has a plan for you. But with painting, it's just me. And so if I don't feel like it's valid information, I might not take it into consideration. But if I also hate it, I will destroy my paintings. I will have something beautiful, and if I really kind of get to a point where it's not adding up, it will be cut in shreds.
Hmm.
So,
I know you just moved, but I noticed the walls behind you are a little bare. Are you a type of person that you put your own artwork on your own walls, or do you keep it elsewhere?
so I'm the type of person that I love Pinterest. I love home goods. I love all of that. But I would rather, if I had a studio space, I would make my space really artsy and everything. But when I come home, I'm at home, even away from practice. Like Donovan can tell you, I don't live near the I don't
Yeah.
live near the team, because I like to stay in tune with the me away from the track. So when I go to Beaverton, it's because I'm going to practice. But when
Yeah.
I come home, I'm taking a break from that, and that helps me
Yeah.
stay calm and not so overwhelmed with training.
That seems like a smart balance to have. Well, Raven, thank you so much
Yep.
for chatting with us for a few minutes. Wish you the best of luck going forward with whatever the season holds for you in 2020, and of course, good luck beyond as well.
Thank you.